In 2011, a television host asked Elon Musk a simple question. Could a Chinese company called BYD ever be a threat to Tesla? Musk threw his head back and laughed. He could barely get the words out. Have you seen their car? He said, still laughing. Their technology is not very strong. The interviewer pressed him. Berkshire Hathaway had just bought a piece of this company. Why are you laughing? Musk shrugged it off. He said BYD had severe problems back home in China. He did not see a rival. He saw a joke. Keep that laugh in your mind, because this is the story of how that joke took his crown. The company Musk mocked on live television now sells more cars than Tesla. In 2024, it pulled in more revenue than Tesla. It builds electric vehicles Tesla cannot match on price, and it sells one of them for around $10,000. Its founder was an orphan who taught himself chemistry and built batteries by hand. Warren Buffett called him one of the most impressive people he had ever backed. And while Musk was busy running 6 companies and posting online, this man was quietly building the largest electric car maker on the planet. This is not a story about a scrappy underdog getting lucky. This is a story about a weapon disguised as a car company, built one battery at a time, for almost 30 years, while the West was not paying attention. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how China dethroned the king of electric cars. And why the thing that beat Tesla was never the car at all. It was something hidden inside it. To understand how BYD won, you have to go back to 1995, to a chemist named Wang Chuanfu. He was born poor in rural China. Both of his parents died before he finished school, and his older siblings sacrificed everything to keep him in class. He studied metallurgy and chemistry, and he became obsessed with one thing: batteries. At the time, Japanese companies dominated the world of rechargeable batteries. They used expensive automated factories that cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Wang looked at that and saw an opening. Instead of buying robots, he hired people. He broke the process into small steps that human hands could do, and he built batteries for a fraction of the cost. He named the company BYD. Later, the letters would be given a slogan in English. Build your dreams. Within a few years, BYD was making batteries for Motorola and Nokia, the biggest phone makers on Earth. It was a battery empire hiding in plain sight. Then, in 2003, Wang did something that made his own investors furious. He bought a failing state car company. The stock dropped hard. Analysts thought he had lost his mind. A battery guy, making cars? But Wang was not thinking about cars. He was thinking about what powers them. He believed the entire auto industry was about to shift from gasoline to electric, and whoever controlled the battery would control the future. In 2008, BYD released the world's first mass-produced plug-in hybrid. And that same year, a phone call came from Omaha. Warren Buffett, the most famous investor alive, wanted in. Berkshire Hathaway bought 10% of BYD for $230 million. Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger, described Wang in one sentence: a combination of Thomas Edison and Jack Welch. He solves technical problems like Edison, and gets things done like Welch. The West had just been handed a warning. Almost nobody listened. So how do you build a car cheaper than everyone else on Earth? You stop buying parts, and you start making everything yourself. This is the secret weapon most people miss when they look at BYD. It is not really a car company. It is a factory that makes almost every piece of the car under one roof. Think about how a normal automaker works. Tesla buys its battery cells from partners. It buys chips, glass, seats, and steel from dozens of suppliers. Every one of those suppliers takes a profit. BYD refused to play that game. BYD makes its own batteries. It makes its own electric motors. During a global chip shortage, when other carmakers had to stop their factories, BYD kept building, because it makes its own semiconductors too. It even builds its own ships to carry the cars overseas. This is called vertical integration, and BYD took it further than almost any company in history. Then, in 2020, they revealed the piece that changed everything. The Blade battery. Most electric cars use batteries that can catch fire if they are damaged. BYD engineered a long, flat cell, shaped like a blade, that was far safer, cheaper, and packed more range into less space. They released a video of a nail being driven straight through it. It did not burst into flames. It barely got warm. That battery became the heart of a machine built to undercut the entire industry. Because BYD controlled every step, it could sell a finished electric car for a price no one in America or Europe could believe. Their smallest model, the Seagull, sells in China for around $10,000. That is not a typo. A brand new electric car, for the price of a used gasoline sedan in the West. Tesla's cheapest car costs 3 times that. And this was the moment the laughing was supposed to stop. But the laughing did not stop. For years, the West kept telling itself a comforting story. Chinese cars were cheap junk. They were subsidized by the government. They would never pass safety tests, never win over real buyers, never matter outside of China. Every one of those excuses was about to be proven wrong. While Western executives repeated these lines in their boardrooms, BYD was doing something they refused to believe. It was getting good. Not just cheap. Good. The designs got sharper. BYD hired a former Audi and Lamborghini designer to lead its studios, and suddenly the cars looked like they belonged. The interiors got nicer. The technology got smarter. Rotating touchscreens, huge range, fast charging. In blind reviews, journalists who expected garbage came away shocked. And the sales exploded. In its home market, BYD did not just compete with foreign brands. It crushed them. Volkswagen had ruled China for decades. BYD passed it. General Motors, Toyota, Honda, all watched their Chinese sales slide as buyers switched to a homegrown brand that was cheaper and, increasingly, better. Then BYD looked outward. It moved into Southeast Asia, Australia, South America, and the Middle East, and it won. In country after country, it became the top-selling electric brand almost overnight. By this point, Elon Musk had stopped laughing, at least in private. In an internal email, he reportedly warned his own staff that Chinese carmakers were the most competitive in the world, and that without trade barriers, they would demolish most rivals. The man who once asked, "Have you seen their car?" was now telling his engineers to be afraid of it. But it was already too late to stop what was coming. The numbers were about to cross a line no one thought a Chinese car company could ever cross. Now turn to the other side of this story. To Tesla, and to Elon Musk. For a decade, Tesla was electric cars. It was the brand, the dream, the future. Musk was the showman who made batteries exciting. But while BYD was launching new model after new model, Tesla was standing still. Look at Tesla's lineup. The Model S and Model X are more than a decade old. The Model 3 and Model Y, the cars that actually sell, have barely changed. The long-promised affordable Tesla, the one that would sell for $25,000, kept slipping away. And the one truly new product, the Cybertruck, became a punchline instead of a savior. Meanwhile, Musk's attention drifted. He bought Twitter for $44 billion and renamed it X. He threw himself into politics, into fights, into posting at all hours. To many former fans, the brand that once felt like the future started to feel like a distraction. Tesla's sales, for the first time in its history, began to fall. In key markets in Europe, sales dropped sharply as buyers walked away. Protests appeared outside Tesla showrooms. The stock stayed high on promises of robots and self-driving taxis, but the core business, selling cars, was stalling. And here is the brutal part. The same years that Tesla spent stalling were the exact years BYD spent sprinting. One company was coasting on a founder who seemed distracted. The other was run by a founder who never stopped building. In a race, it does not matter how far ahead you start if you stop moving and your rival does not. Tesla was about to learn that lesson in the most public way imaginable, printed in cold financial numbers that the whole world could read. By 2023, the warning signs were everywhere, and Western governments finally understood the threat. If BYD could sell a good electric car for $10,000, then no carmaker in America or Europe could survive an open fight. An entire century of Western car making, the factories, the jobs, the national pride, was suddenly at risk from a company most people could not even name a few years earlier. So they built a wall. The United States moved to slap tariffs of around 100% on Chinese electric cars, effectively banning them from the market. Europe launched an investigation into Chinese subsidies and added its own import duties on top of the normal tariff. The message was blunt. We cannot compete with you on price, so we will not let you in. But here is what makes BYD so dangerous. A wall only works if your enemy stays on the other side of it. BYD did not. Instead of shipping cars into these markets, BYD started building factories inside them. Plants in Hungary. Plants in Turkey. A massive factory in Brazil. If it builds the cars locally, the tariffs do not apply, and the jobs it creates make it politically harder to ban. The company was playing chess while its rivals were playing checkers. And it still had its home base, the largest car market on Earth, plus half the developing world, where no tariff stood in its way. Western leaders had spent years laughing along with Musk, assuming their lead was permanent. They confused a head start with a moat. And now, with the walls going up too late, the moment finally arrived. The moment the numbers flipped, and the crown officially changed hands. It happened in stages, and each one landed like a hammer. First, at the end of 2023, BYD did something no one thought possible. For a single quarter, it sold more pure electric vehicles than Tesla. For the first time ever, the company Musk had mocked outsold him at his own game. Tesla clawed the yearly crown back, but the spell was broken. Everyone could see where this was heading. Then came 2024, and the hammer fell for good. In the third quarter, BYD reported revenue of over $28 billion, beating Tesla's revenue for the first time. And when the full-year numbers came in, they were staggering. BYD brought in more than $107 billion in revenue, passing Tesla's roughly $98 billion. It delivered over 4 million vehicles in a single year. Now, be honest about the details, because the truth is stronger than the hype. Around half of BYD's sales are hybrids, not pure electric cars, so on the narrow measure of battery-only vehicles, the fight was still close. But in 2025, even that last wall fell. BYD took the global crown for pure electric vehicle sales as well. The Orphan chemist from rural China now ran the biggest electric vehicle company in the world, by almost every measure that counted. The stock that Warren Buffett bought for $230 million had multiplied many times over. And the man who laughed on television in 2011 was now watching a company he called a joke sell more cars than his own. The crown had not just slipped. It had been taken. And the strangest part is that almost nobody in the West saw the exact weapon that did it. So what actually beat Tesla? It was not a flashy car. It was not a genius on a stage. It was a battery, and the patience to control everything around it. Remember where BYD started. A battery company. It never really stopped being one. While the rest of the industry treated the battery as a part to buy, BYD treated it as the whole point. Wang Chuanfu understood something Musk forgot along the way. In the electric age, whoever owns the battery owns the car. Whoever owns the car owns the road. BYD spent 30 years quietly building that foundation, one cell at a time, while the West laughed and looked away. And that is the real lesson hiding inside this story. Empires are rarely toppled by a single dramatic blow. They are hollowed out slowly, by a rival who is willing to be underestimated for as long as it takes. Musk was not wrong that BYD's early cars were weak. He was wrong to assume they would stay that way. He mistook a starting point for a destiny. Now here is the question I want you to sit with. When you look at the giants that dominate your world today, the tech companies, the brands, the names that seem untouchable, how many of them are laughing at a rival right now that they should be afraid of? History says at least one of them is. So tell me in the comments. Do you think Tesla can ever take the crown back, or is this the beginning of a Chinese century in cars? If this story gripped you, subscribe, because every empire that looks invincible is already being hunted by the next one. There is another story waiting for you right now. Go find it.